The rain was a curtain over Seattle, blurring the neon glow of the diner where I'd taken shelter. My hands trembled as I clutched a coffee mug, the warmth a faint comfort against the bruises hidden under my sleeve. I'd slipped out of the apartment an hour ago, heart pounding, praying Julian wouldn't notice I was gone. My name's Elias Navarro, and at 28, I was a ghost of the man I used to be, a painter who once dreamed in color, now trapped in a grayscale nightmare by the man I'd loved. It started with a fight, the kind that explodes from nothing and leaves everything in ruins. Julian, my boyfriend of 2 years, had come home late, his eyes cold and his voice sharper than the Seattle wind. He'd always been controlling, checking my phone, dictating my clothes, isolating me from friends, but tonight was different. His anger was a storm, and I was the wreckage. "You're mine, Elias," he'd hissed, pinning me against the wall, his grip bruising my wrists. "Don't forget it." The worst wasn't the shouting or the threats. It was the nights he'd pull me close, his touch demanding, ignoring my protests. Each time left me hollow, pain and fear twisting together until I couldn't tell them apart. I'd shrink into myself, too weak to fight, too scared to run. Julian wanted me locked away, a possession to control, and I was losing the strength to resist. But tonight something snapped. He'd fallen asleep, his breathing heavy, and I saw my chance. I grabbed my jacket, a few dollars, and a photo of my mom, my only anchor to the person I used to be, and slipped out. The diner was a mile away, a refuge I hadn't dared visit in months. I was free for now, but Julian's shadow loomed, and I knew he'd come looking. The bell above the door jingled, and my heart stopped. I braced for Julian's face, but it was Rowan, my older brother, his dark hair damp from the rain. His eyes, green like mine but fiercer, softened when he saw me. "Elias," he said, sliding into the booth. "You're okay." I wasn't, but his presence was a lifeline. Rowan had been my protector growing up, the one who'd taught me to sketch and laugh through the hard times after Dad left. But Julian had driven a wedge between us, convincing me Rowan was jealous, meddling. I believed him, pushed Rowan away, but now, seeing him, I realized how much I'd missed him. "How'd you find me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Lena called," he said. "Said you've been texting her, sounding scared. She guessed you'd come here." Lena, my cousin, was a journalist with a knack for sniffing out trouble. She'd been the only one I'd dared confide in, through coded messages Julian couldn't trace. "Elias, what's he doing to you?" I looked away, shame burning my cheeks. "It's complicated," I said, but the bruises told the truth. Rowan's jaw tightened, but he didn't push. Instead, he reached across the table, his hand steadying mine. "You don't have to go back," he said. "I've got a place in Tacoma, off the grid. You can stay there, figure things out. But we need to move before he finds you." The thought of running sent a shiver through me, but so did the thought of staying. Julian's control was a cage, and every day with him chipped away at my soul. I nodded, my throat tight. "Okay, but he'll look for me, Rowan. He always does." "Let him try," Rowan said, a spark of defiance in his eyes. "You're not alone anymore." We left the diner, the rain masking our steps as we headed for Rowan's truck. My heart raced, half expecting Julian's car to peel around the corner, but the street was empty. As we drove south, the city lights fading, I felt a flicker of hope, fragile but real. Rowan didn't ask questions, just played soft music, letting me breathe. I clutched Mom's photo, remembering her strength, and vowed to find mine again. The Tacoma house was a small bungalow tucked in a quiet neighborhood. Inside, it smelled of cedar and paint, a reminder of the art I'd abandoned. Rowan showed me a spare room, his voice gentle. "You're safe here, Elias. Lena's coming tomorrow. She's got an idea to keep Julian away for good." "What kind of idea?" I asked, wary. Lena's plans were bold, often risky, but she'd always had my back. "She's been digging," Rowan said. "Found something on Julian, records, maybe. She thinks it could scare him off." He hesitated, his eyes searching mine. "There's someone else helping, too. A friend of Lena's, goes by Spectre. I don't know much, but Lena trusts them." The name Spectre sent a chill through me, like a whisper of something bigger. "Can we trust them?" I asked, my voice small. Lena does, Rowan said. And I trust her. For now, rest. We'll figure out together. I nodded, but sleep felt impossible. Alone in the room, I sat on the bed, my mind replaying Julian's voice, his hands, the fear that had defined me. But I wasn't there anymore. I was here with Rowan, with a chance to fight back. I thought of Lena, her fierce loyalty, and this mysterious specter, a shadow I hoped was on our side. As I lay down, the rain tapping the roof, I felt a spark of defiance. Julian had taken so much, my art, my freedom, my light, but he hadn't taken everything. I was weak, yes, but I wasn't broken. And with Rowan and Lena beside me, I'd find a way to escape his chains, to reclaim the man I was meant to be. The fight was just beginning, and for the first time in years, I wasn't facing it alone. The Tacoma bungalow was quiet, save for the soft patter of rain on the roof, but my mind was a storm. I sat on the edge of the bed, clutching Mom's photo, its edges worn from years of hope. I'd escaped Julian's apartment last night, a desperate sprint into the Seattle rain, but his shadow clung to me. Every creak of the house made my heart lurch, expecting his voice, his hands, his demands that left me aching and afraid. Rowan was in the kitchen, brewing tea, his way of calming the chaos. He'd always been my anchor, the big brother who'd patched my skinned knees and cheered my first art show. But Julian had twisted that bond, whispering lies that Rowan was controlling, that he'd never understand us. I believed him, let him isolate me, until fear became my world. Now, with Rowan's steady presence, I saw the truth. Julian's love was a cage, and I'd been too weak to break free. Until now, the doorbell chimed, and I flinched, my pulse spiking. "It's just Lena," Rowan called, his voice warm but firm. I exhaled, joining him as he opened the door to our cousin, Lena Voss. She was a whirlwind, sharp eyes, a leather jacket, and a smile that could cut through fog. A journalist with a nose for secrets, she'd been my lifeline through coded texts, the only one I dared tell about Julian's control. "Elias," she said, pulling me into a hug. Her embrace was fierce, like she could shield me from the past. "You're safe now. We're going to make sure it stays that way." "How?" I asked, my voice shaky. I sank onto the couch, Rowan and Lena sitting across from me. The bruises on my wrists throbbed, a reminder of Julian's grip, his nightly demands that left me trembling, not with desire but with dread. I couldn't say it aloud, not yet, but Lena's eyes softened like she already knew. "Julian's not just a creep," she said, pulling a folder from her bag. "He's got dirt, serious dirt. I've been digging, and he's tied to some shady real estate deals in Seattle. Money laundering, maybe worse. If we can get this to the right people, he's done." My stomach twisted. "He'll know it's me," I said. "He always knows. He checks my phone, my emails. He even followed me to the gallery once, said I was his to protect." The memory of his voice, low and possessive, made my skin crawl. "If he finds me, he won't," Rowan said, his jaw tight. "This place is off-grid. No one knows you're here, not even my co-workers. And Lena's got a plan." Lena leaned forward, her voice low. "There's someone helping us, calls themselves Spectre. They're a hacker deep in the underground. They've been feeding me intel on Julian's deals, stuff even I couldn't find. Spectre says there's a file, a ledger, that could bury him. It's locked in his office, encrypted." "Spectre?" I echoed, the name sparking unease. "Who are they? Why help me?" "Don't know," Lena admitted. "They contacted me after I started poking around Julian's business. Said they owed someone a favor, someone tied to you. They're cagey, but their info's solid. We need that ledger, Elias. It's your ticket out." I nodded, but doubt gnawed at me. Julian's control was a web, and every step felt like a trap. He made me feel small, weak, like I couldn't survive without him. His touch, once tender, had become a ritual of pain, each night a reminder of my helplessness. But here, with Rowan and Lena, I felt a spark of strength, like an ember waiting to catch. "We can't just walk into his office," Rowan said, his voice practical. "Julian's paranoid. He's got cameras, maybe worse. Which is why we're smart," Lena said, a glint in her eye. Spectre's working on a way to loop his security feeds. If we can get you in and out, Elias, you know his habits best. You could find that ledger. Me? My heart raced. I can't. I'm not strong enough. If he catches me, you are. Rowan cut in his hand on my shoulder. You got out, Elias. That took guts. We'll be with you. Me, Lena, even the Spectre. You're not alone. His words were a balm, but fear still coiled in my chest. I thought of Julian's eyes, cold and calculating, and the way he'd smile after hurting me, like it was love. But then I looked at Rowan, his steady gaze, and Lena, her fierce determination, and I wanted to believe them. I wanted to be more than the broken man Julian had made me. Okay, I said, my voice trembling but resolute. I'll try, but we need a plan, a good one. Lena grinned. That's my boy. Spectre's sending us a drop point. Somewhere in Olympia. We'll get the tools we need to pull this off. But we move tonight. Julian's already looking for you. The thought sent a chill through me, but Rowan's hand stayed on my shoulder, grounding me. We've got this, he said. And when it's done, you're free. Really free. As Lena mapped out the plan, I retreated to the spare room, needing a moment to breathe. I sat on the bed, Mom's photo in my hands, and let the memories flood back. Painting with her in the garden, laughing until my sides hurt. Julian had taken that joy, but he hadn't taken her lessons. To fight, to love, to live. I thought of Rowan, my protector, and Lena, my warrior, and a new feeling stirred. Not just hope, but something warmer, deeper. I wasn't ready for love, not yet, but the idea of it, of someone who'd seen me as whole, lit a spark in my chest. The door creaked, and Rowan stepped in, his eyes soft. You okay? He asked, sitting beside me. No, I admitted, my voice cracking. But I will be. Because of you. I leaned into him, his arm wrapping around me. And for the first time in years, I felt safe. Not just from Julian, but from the fear that had defined me. We're going to end this, Rowan said, his voice fierce. And you're going to paint again, Elias. I know it. I smiled, small but real, and held on to that promise. Julian was coming. His control a shadow I couldn't outrun yet. But with Rowan, Lena, and this mysterious Spectre, I had a chance to break free, to reclaim my heart, and maybe, just maybe, to find love on the other side. As we prepared to leave for Olympia, I tucked Mom's photo in my pocket, a reminder of who I was fighting for me. The Olympian night was heavy with mist, the kind that clings to your skin and makes every shadow feel alive. I sat in the back of Lena's van, my knees pulled to my chest, Mom's photo tucked in my pocket like a talisman. We'd driven from Tacoma to meet Spectre's contact at a derelict warehouse, hoping to get tools to break into Julian's office and steal the ledger that could end his hold over me. Lena parked near the warehouse, her eyes scanning the empty lot. Spectre's contact should be here, she said, her voice low. They're bringing a drive to loop Julian's cameras. Stay sharp, Elias. I nodded, my heart pounding. Rowan, in the passenger seat, turned to me, his green eyes steady. You've got this, he said, his voice anchor. We're right here. My brother's faith in me was a lifeline, but the fear of Julian finding me, of facing his cold smile, his hands, made my stomach churn. He'd always known how to make me feel small. His touch of punishment I couldn't escape. But I wasn't his anymore. I couldn't be. The warehouse door creaked open, and a figure stepped out, tall, lean, with a hood obscuring their face. Lena tensed, but the figure raised a hand, holding a USB drive. From Spectre, they said, their voice muffled but warm, like a melody I couldn't place. They stepped closer, lowering the hood, and my breath caught. It was Milo, my childhood friend and distant cousin, his dark curls framing a face that was all sharp angles and soft smiles. His brown eyes, warm like cedar, met mine, and a rush of memories, summer sketches, shared secrets, flooded back. Elias, Milo said, his voice cracking with relief. Dang, it's really you. Milo? I stammered, climbing out of the van. We'd lost touch when Julian forced me to cut ties, his jealousy a wall between me and everyone I loved. Seeing Milo now, older but still radiant, was like finding a piece of myself I'd thought was gone. "You're with Spectre?" He nodded, handing Lena the drive. "I've been helping him, yeah. When Lena reached out about you, I knew I had to step in. Julian's bad news, Elias. I'm here to help you end this." Lena raised an eyebrow, checking the drive. "You the contact?" "Small world. This legit, solid as stone," Milo said, his gaze flickering to me. "Spectre's got my back, and I've got yours." There was a weight to his words, a promise that stirred something in my chest, something warm, dangerous like a spark in a storm. Rowan clapped Milo's shoulder, a rare grin breaking through. "Good to see you, man. Let's move. We got a tight window." We huddled in the van, Lena outlining the plan. Tomorrow night, we'd infiltrate Julian's office in Seattle, using Milo's drive to loop the cameras. I'd lead, knowing Julian's habits, his passwords, his routines from years of living under his thumb. The thought of facing his space again made my skin crawl, but Milo's presence steadied me. He sat close, his knee brushing mine, and every glance he threw my way felt like a question, one I wasn't ready to answer but couldn't ignore. As Lena and Rowan debated logistics, Milo leaned in, his voice soft. "I never stopped thinking about you, Elias. When you went quiet, I thought I'd lost you." His hand hovered near mine, hesitant, and my heart raced. Julian's control had left me afraid of touch, but Milo's warmth was different, gentle, inviting, like a door I wanted to open. "I'm here now," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Thanks to you." The warehouse was cold, but the van felt too small, the air charged with something new. Lena and Rowan stepped out to scout the area, leaving us alone. Milo turned to me, his eyes searching. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. "I know what he did to you. Lena told me enough. You're stronger than you think." I shook my head, tears prickling. "I'm not. He made me feel like nothing. Every night I stopped, the memories of Julian's demands, his hands ignoring my pleas, choking me. I was too weak to stop him. Milo's jaw tightened, but his touch was soft, his fingers brushing my cheek. "You're not weak. You got out, and I'm not letting him touch you again." His voice was fierce, but his eyes were tender, and the contrast undid me. I leaned into him, my forehead against his, and the world fell away. Our lips met, tentative at first, like testing a fragile bridge. Then it deepened, a slow burn that ignited every nerve. His hands found my waist, gentle but sure, and I melted into him, my fingers tangling in his curls. It was heat, raw and alive, like colors bursting across a canvas after years of gray. His breath was warm against my skin, his touch a promise of safety, and for the first time, I felt desire without fear. We moved closer, the van's shadows wrapping us, every kiss a reclaiming of what Julian had stolen. It was steamy, electric, like we'd been holding this in forever, but it was also healing, a step toward trust. When we pulled apart, gasping, Milo's smile was shy but bright. "Dang, Elias," he murmured, his forehead against mine. "I've wanted that since we were kids." I laughed, soft and real, my heart lighter. "Me too," I admitted, and it was true. Milo had always been a spark, one I'd buried under Julian's darkness. But now, with him, I felt alive. The van door opened, and Lena's voice cut through. "Hope you two are ready," she said, a smirk in her tone. "We got a problem. Julian's men are sniffing around Seattle." Spectre picked up chatter. "He knows you're gone, Elias." My stomach dropped, the warmth fading. "Already?" I asked, fear creeping back. Julian's reach was long, his need to control me a leash I hadn't fully escaped. Rowan climbed in, his face grim. "We move tonight," he said. "Spectre's got a window. Julian's at a meeting till midnight. We at the office now, or we lose our shot." Milo squeezed my hand, his eyes fierce. "We've got you, Elias. Let's end this." As we drove north, the city lights looming, I clung to Milo's warmth, to Rowan's strength, to Lena's fire. Julian's shadow was closing in, but so was my resolve. I wasn't the broken man he'd made me. I was Elias Navarro, and, with Milo's kiss still burning on my lips, I was ready to fight for my freedom, and maybe, just maybe, for love. The Seattle skyline loomed like a jagged crown, its lights blurring through the van's rain-streaked windows as we sped toward Julian's office. My heart pounded, a mix of fear and defiance, as I clutched Milo's hand, his warmth a tether against the memories of Julian's control. Lena checked the USB drive Milo had gotten from Spectre, her fingers steady despite the tension. "This should loop the cameras," she said, her voice clipped. "Elias, you know Julian's office layout. You and Milo go in, find the ledger. Rowan and I will keep watch." I nodded, my stomach twisting. Julian's office was a place of nightmares, where he'd corner me after meetings, his touch a claim I couldn't refuse, his smile a blade. But Milo's eyes, warm and fierce, grounded me. Our kiss in the van, all heat and trust, had lit something inside me, a hope I hadn't felt in years. "Let's do this," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Rowan squeezed my shoulder, his green eyes fierce. "You got this, Elias. We're right outside." His faith in me, after years of Julian's lies driving us apart, was a lifeline. But Lena's gaze flickered, a shadow crossing her face, and I brushed it off as nerves. She was my cousin, my warrior. She'd never let me down. Milo and I slipped into the building, the USB drive disabling the cameras as we navigated the dark halls. Julian's office was on the top floor, a glass-walled kingdom that reeked of his control. My hands shook as I typed his password, mine forever, into the computer, the irony bitter. Milo stood close, his presence a shield, and we found the ledger file, encrypted but real. "Got it," I whispered, copying it to a spare drive. But then the lights flared, and my heart stopped. Lena stood in the doorway, her expression cold, a phone in her hand. "I'm sorry, Elias," she said, and the world tilted. "Lena," I stammered, Milo stepping in front of me. "What's going on?" Rowan burst in, his face pale. "She tipped them off," he said, his voice breaking. "I caught her texting, coordinates our plan. She's working with Julian." My knees buckled, and Milo caught me, his arm around my waist. "Lena, why?" I asked, my voice cracking. She'd been my lifeline, my confidant through Julian's abuse. Her betrayal was a knife, sharper than Julian's hands. "It's not Julian," Lena said, her eyes glinting with something dark. "It's Spectre. They paid me, enough to start over. They said if I kept you running, kept you scared, you'd give up. You'd stay with Julian, where he wants you." "Spectre," Milo growled, his grip tightening. "You sold him out for a hacker." "Not just a hacker," Lena said. "Spectre's obsessed with Elias. Wants him broken, dependent, forever Julian's. They've been pulling strings, feeding me intel to keep you in the game, but never free." She stepped closer, her voice softening. "I didn't want this, Elias, but I'm drowning in debt, in secrets." Spectre offered a way out. Rowan lunged, grabbing her phone, but Lena didn't fight. "It's too late," she said. "Julian's men are coming. Run or don't. It's over." My chest burned, betrayal mixing with fear. Lena, my fierce cousin, had traded my hope for a payout, orchestrated by a shadow who wanted me caged. Julian's control, his demands that left me aching, his voice that haunted my dreams, wasn't just his. Spectre was behind it, a puppet master I didn't understand. But Milo's hand in mine, Rowan's fury, they reminded me I wasn't alone. "We're not done," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. I grabbed the drive with the ledger, shoving it into my pocket. "Rowan, Milo, let's go." We bolted, leaving Lena behind, her eyes haunted but unyielding. The stairwell echoed with footsteps, Julian's men closing in. My heart raced, but Milo's presence, his breath steady beside me, kept me moving. We hit the alley, piling into the van, Rowan flooring the gas as headlights flared behind us. "They're on us," Rowan said, swerving through Seattle streets. "We need a safe spot now." Milo pulled out his phone, texting fast. "I've got a place, friend's apartment in Bellevue. Off-grid, no ties to us. We can regroup, crack that ledger." I nodded, but Lena's betrayal clawed at me. "How could she?" I whispered, my hands shaking. "She knew what Julian did. how he hurt me every night, made me feel like nothing. And she sold me out. Milo's arm wrapped around me, his warmth a balm. She's lost, Elias. But you're not. You're stronger than she'll ever be. His words were fierce, and when he looked at me, his eyes promised more than safety, a future, maybe, where I could love without fear. Rowan glanced back, his voice soft. We'll figure out Spectre, Elias. And Julian. They don't get to win. The van sped into the night, the city a blur. I leaned into Milo, my head on his shoulder, and let myself breathe. Lena's betrayal had shattered my trust, but it hadn't broken me. Julian's control, Spectre's schemes, they were shadows, but I had light. Rowan's loyalty, Milo's love, the ledger in my pocket. I thought of Mom's photo, her strength, and felt it in me now, fragile but growing. As we reached Bellevue, the apartment a dim beacon, I knew the fight was far from over. Julian was coming, and Spectre's betrayal cut deeper than I could fathom. But with Milo's hand in mine, his kiss still a spark in my heart, I was ready to face them. I wasn't the weak man Julian had made me. I was Elias Navarro, and I'd paint my freedom one brushstroke at a time. The Bellevue apartment was a dim refuge, its walls closing in as the weight of Lena's betrayal pressed against my chest. I sat on a threadbare couch, the ledger drive in my pocket, a cold reminder of our mission to bury Julian, my ex whose control had left me scarred, his nightly demands, his hands that turned love into pain and fear. I'm Elias Navarro, a painter who'd lost his light, but with my brother Rowan and Milo, the cousin who'd rekindled hope with a kiss, I'd started to fight back. Now, Lena's confession, that she'd sold me out to Spectre, who wanted me trapped with Julian forever, had shattered my trust. And as I looked at Milo, his warm eyes hiding something I couldn't name, a new fear crept in. Rowan paced the room, his jaw tight. We've got the ledger, he said, his voice low. But with Lena gone and Spectre pulling strings, we're exposed. We need to crack this drive, find out what Julian's hiding, and get it to someone who can use it. Milo nodded, setting up a laptop on the coffee table. I've got contacts who can help, he said, his voice steady but too smooth, like he was playing a part. Let me reach out, see if we could decrypt this tonight. His hand brushed mine, a gesture that once sparked heat but now felt calculated, and my stomach twisted. The apartment door creaked, and I flinched, expecting Julian's men. But it was Tessa, our aunt, her silver hair pulled back, her eyes sharp with worry. Rowan had called her, a last-ditch plea for help. Tessa was family, a tech whiz who'd worked on our parent startup, a company that built encryption software before it folded under mysterious circumstances. Elias, she said, pulling me into a hug. Rowan told me everything. I'm here to help. Her presence was a balm, but Lena's betrayal lingered like poison. Can you crack the ledger? I asked, my voice shaky. It's our only shot to stop Julian. Tessa eyed the drive, her expression grim. I can try, but we need to talk about something else first. She glanced at Milo, her gaze hardening. Your family's tech. The software your parents built. It's not gone. Someone stole it, repurposed it for Julian's deals. And I think Milo knows more than he's letting on. My heart stopped. Milo. I turned to him, his face pale, his hands frozen on the laptop. The memory of our kiss, hot, electric, a promise of healing, clashed with the doubt in Tessa's words. What's she talking about? Milo's eyes darted away, and that was answer enough. Elias, he started, but Tessa cut him off. I traced the code in Julian's systems, she said. It's ours, your parents' work, twisted to hide his money laundering. Milo was at the startup before it crashed. He had access, and now he's here, cozying up to you? That's no coincidence. Rowan stepped forward, his voice low. Talk, Milo. Now. Milo's shoulders slumped, and when he looked at me, his eyes were wet, but not with remorse, with desperation. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he said. Yeah, I took the tech. Julian paid me, too. Said it'd make us rich. But then I saw you again, Elias, and I wanted you. Not like Julian, not to hurt you, but to keep you with me. I thought if I could be your hero, you'd stay. My breath caught, a sickening echo of Julian's words. You're mine. You seduced me, I said, my voice breaking. You used me just like he did. You wanted to control me, to be his second Julian. No, Milo protested, stepping closer, but Rowan blocked him. I love you, Elias. I thought if I helped you escape, you'd see we could be together. Spectre pushed me, said to keep you close, to make you need me. They wanted you with Julian, but I wanted you with me. Spectre, I echoed, my head spinning. You're working with him too? Lena's betrayal was bad enough, but Milo's cut deeper. His kiss, his touch, had felt like salvation, but it was a lie, a trap to bind me, just as Julian had. The pain of his deception was worse than Julian's hands, because I'd let myself hope. Tessa's voice was cold. Spectre's been orchestrating this, using Lena, Milo, anyone to keep you trapped. But the ledger's real. We can use it to end Julian, and maybe Spectre too. I stood, my legs shaky, Mom's photo in my pocket a faint anchor. Why, Milo? I asked, tears burning. I trusted you. I felt something real. His face crumpled. I'm sorry, he whispered. I thought I could fix it, make it right. But I can't. Run, Elias. Get the ledger out. I won't stop you. Rowan grabbed the laptop, Tessa securing the drive. We're leaving, he said, his voice fierce. Milo, you stay. You've done enough. I wanted to scream, to collapse, but Tessa's hand on my arm steadied me. You're stronger than this, she said. Let's go. We fled the apartment, piling into Tessa's car, the Bellevue streets a blur. My heart was a wreck. Milo's betrayal a fresh wound atop Lena's. Julian's control, his demands that left me trembling, his voice that broke me, had been a cage, but Milo's love was a mirror, another trap I'd almost fallen into. Yet, as we drove toward Seattle, the ledger, our only weapon, I felt a flicker of resolve. I wasn't the weak man they thought I was. I was Elias Navarro, and I'd fight for my freedom. Tessa's voice cut through my thoughts. There's a contact in Portland, Lena's old editor, Nora. She's clean, hates Julian. We get her the ledger, she'll publish it. Portland? Rowan asked, his eyes on the road. That's a risk. Julian's men are everywhere. So, Spectre, I said, my voice hard. But we've got the truth. That's enough. As the car sped south, I stared out the window, the rain a reflection of my turmoil. Milo's face, his kiss, haunted me, but so did Mom's strength, Rowan's loyalty, Tessa's fire. They'd stolen my family's tech, my trust, my hope, but they hadn't stolen me. I'd expose Julian, unmask Spectre, and paint my future, free, whole, and maybe, someday, open to love that didn't hurt. The road ahead was dark, but I was ready to face it, one painful step at a time. The Portland rain was a relentless drumbeat, mirroring the panic in my chest as Tessa's car sped toward the city's edge. I clutched the ledger drive, its weight of fragile hope against the wreckage of my heart. Tessa's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it, her face paling. Nora's compromised, she said, her voice tight. Julian's men got to her. She's not at the meet point. Rowan cursed, gripping the wheel. Then we're out of options. We need to ditch the car, go underground. My stomach dropped. He's everywhere, I whispered, the memory of Julian's cold smile, his voice claiming me as his, clawing at me. He'll find us. Not if we're smart, Tessa said, but her eyes were grim. There's a safe house in Vancouver, just over the border. I've got contacts who can hide us. Before I could respond, headlights flared behind us, a black SUV surging through the rain. My heart stopped. It's him, I said, my voice barely audible. Julian's men, always one step ahead, as if Spectre's whispers guided them. The SUV rammed us, the car lurching, and Rowan swerved, tires screeching. But another vehicle cut us off, forcing us into an alley. Doors slammed, and figures emerged. Julian's men, their faces hard, led by Julian himself. His silhouette was unmistakable, tall and predatory, his eyes glinting under the streetlight. Elias, he called, his voice smooth but venomous. You can't run forever. I froze, my body betraying me, the fear he'd instilled flooding back. His touch, his demands that left me aching, his control that made me feel like nothing. It was all there, pulling me under. Rowan grabbed my arm, but Julian's men were faster, yanking us from the car. Tessa fought, but a blow sent her sprawling, and I screamed, the sound swallowed by the rain. They dragged us to a warehouse, its walls cold and damp, and locked us in a windowless room. Julian stepped inside, his smile ablaze. "You thought you could leave me?" he said, his fingers brushing my cheek. I flinched, the memory of his hands, his nightly rituals of pain, choking me. "You're mine, Elias. Always." Rowan lunged, but a guard restrained him, slamming him against the wall. "Leave him alone," Rowan shouted, his voice raw. Julian ignored him, his eyes fixed on me, and I shrank, the weakness he'd cultivated threatening to drown me. "You stole from me," Julian said, holding up the ledger drive he'd taken. "But I'll forgive you, Elias. Come back and this ends." His hand gripped my wrist, and I trembled, the promise of more pain, more fear paralyzing me. "No," I whispered, but my voice was small, lost. Julian smiled, knowing he'd won, and left us locked in the dark, Rowan's breathing heavy beside me. "I'm sorry," I said, tears burning. "I drag you into this. Lena, Milo, now Julian, I'm not strong enough." Rowan's hand found mine, his grip fierce. "You're stronger than you know," he said. "We're getting out. I promise." Hours passed, the darkness a mirror of my despair. Julian's voice echoed in my mind, Spectre's schemes and Milo's betrayal twisting the knife. I trusted Milo's kiss, his warmth, only to learn he'd stolen our family's tech, seduced me to control me, a second Julian in disguise. But as I clung to Mom's photo in my pocket, her strength stirred in me, a faint spark against the void. A soft scrape broke the silence, and the door creaked open. I tensed, expecting Julian, but it was Nora, Lena's editor, her face bruised but determined. "Elias, Rowan," she whispered, tossing us a key. "Move now." "Nora," I stammered. "Tessa said you were compromised." "I was," she said, her voice low. Julian's men grabbed me, but I got free. "Tessa's waiting outside. She's hurt, but alive." "Come on." We followed her, my heart racing as we slipped through the warehouse, avoiding guards. Nora, our distant cousin through marriage, had always been a quiet presence at family gatherings, but now her courage shone, a beacon in the dark. She led us to a side exit where Tessa waited, bloodied but standing, a stolen car idling. "Get in," she hissed, and we piled inside, Nora taking the wheel. As we sped away, the warehouse shrinking behind us, Nora handed me a duplicate drive. "I copied the ledger before Julian got me," she said. "We can still publish it, but we need to get out of the country. Julian's reach is too long." "Canada?" Rowan asked, his arm around me. "Further," Tessa said, wincing as she adjusted her bandage. "I've got a contact in Lisbon, old colleague from the startup. They'll hide us, help us get the ledger out." Lisbon. The word felt like a dream, a world away from Julian's cage. But as we crossed the border into Canada, my heart was heavy. "He'll follow," I said, my voice trembling. "Spectre's still out there, pulling strings." "Then we expose them too," Nora said, her eyes fierce. "The ledger's a start. Spectre's tied to Julian. I found chatter on his servers, coded messages. We'll unmask them." I nodded, but Milo's betrayal stung, a reminder of how easily I'd fallen for lies. His kiss had felt like love, but it was control, a mirror of Julian's demands. Yet as I looked at Rowan, Tessa, and Nora, family who'd risked everything, I felt a new strength. Julian had locked me back, but I'd escaped again, and this time, I wasn't alone. The car hummed through the night, Canada's forests a blur. I leaned against Rowan, his warmth a shield, and thought of Lisbon, a chance to rebuild. Julian's shadow loomed, Spectre's motives a mystery, but I was Elias Navarro, and I'd fight for my light. As the dawn broke, I vowed to paint again, to find love that didn't hurt, and to end this no matter the cost. The plane's engines hummed, a steady drone as we soared toward Lisbon, the Atlantic a shimmering expanse below. I pressed my forehead against the window, my heart still racing from the nightmare of Julian's warehouse. His cold smile, his hands that had caged me in pain and fear, his voice claiming me as his. I gasped, my eyes snapping open, and the plane was gone. I was in my Seattle apartment, sprawled on my couch, a novel splayed across my chest. My heart pounded, sweat beating on my forehead as the room came into focus. My easel in the corner, my paints untouched, Mom's photo on the coffee table. The book, Shadows of Control, was dog-eared, its cover a stark image of a man in chains. I'd been reading it late, a thriller about a man trapped by a possessive lover, and it seeped into my dreams, weaving Julian, Lena, Milo, and Spectre into a nightmare that felt too real. I sat up, my hands trembling. The bruises, the fear, the chase. They were fiction, but the emotions lingered, raw and heavy. I'd never had a boyfriend like Julian, never faced a conspiracy like Nexus or Spectre, but the novel's themes, control, betrayal, the fight for freedom, hit too close. I'd been struggling, my art stalled by self-doubt, my confidence eroded by a string of failed relationships, none abusive but none right. The nightmare had amplified my fears, turning them into a vivid cage, but it had also shown me my strength. The door buzzed, and I flinched, the echo of Julian's pursuit still fresh. But it was Rowan, my real brother, his green eyes warm as he stepped inside, a takeout bag in hand. "You okay, Elias?" he asked, setting the bag down. "You look like you saw a ghost." "Just a bad dream," I said, my voice shaky. I held up the novel, forcing a smile. "This book's intense. Had me running from Psycho X across the country." Rowan laughed, sitting beside me. "You and your thrillers. Maybe stick to painting for a bit, yeah?" His presence was grounding, a reminder of the real world, where he was my rock, not a dream hero fighting contractors. I nodded, but the nightmare's weight lingered. It felt so real, I admitted, like I was trapped, weak, but I kept fighting. "You were there, Tessa, even Lena. And Milo." My cheeks warmed, the memory of Milo's kiss. Hot, hopeful, then tainted by betrayal, stirring something in me. In the dream, he'd stolen our family's tech, seduced me to control me. But in reality, Milo was just a cousin I'd lost touch with, a kind face from childhood. Rowan raised an eyebrow. "Milo, huh? Sounds like your brain's working overtime. You've been stressed, Elias. The gallery rejection, the dating slump. Maybe it's manifesting." He was right. The gallery had turned down my latest work, calling it uninspired, and my last date had ghosted me, leaving me questioning my worth. The novel had taken those insecurities, spun them into Julian's abuse, Spectre's schemes, and Milo's lies, but had also given me Rowan's loyalty, Tessa's fire, Nora's courage. I'd fought in the dream, and I could fight now. The buzzer sounded again, and I tensed, but Rowan grinned. "That's Tessa. Told her to swing by. She's got news." Tessa, our real aunt, breezed in, her silver hair catching the light. "Elias, you're a mess," she said, but her hug was warm. "Good news. I pulled strings with a friend at a Lisbon gallery. They want to work? New stuff, whatever you got. You up for it?" My heart skipped. Lisbon, the dream's refuge, now a real opportunity. "Seriously?" I asked, the spark igniting. I haven't painted in months." "Then start," Tessa said, her eyes fierce. "You're talented, Elias. Don't let doubt cage you." Her words echoed the dream's lesson. I wasn't weak. The nightmare's Julian, with his painful control, was a shadow of my fears, but I'd escaped him, just as I could escape my real doubts. Lena's betrayal, Milo's deception, they were fiction, but they taught me to guard my heart, to trust carefully. And the ledger, the fight to expose truth, mirrored my need to create, to share my art with the world. As Rowan and Tessa chatted, I stepped to my easel, picking up a brush. The canvas was blank, but for the first time in months, I saw colors. Blues of freedom, reds of courage, golds of hope. The nightmare had shown me a version of myself that fought, loved, and survived, and I wanted to be that man, not the one hiding from rejection. My phone pinged, and I glanced at it. A message from Nora, our real cousin, not the Dreams editor. Heard you're in a rut. Coffee tomorrow? Got a friend you might like. I smiled, the idea of meeting someone new both thrilling and terrifying. The Dreams Milo had hurt me, but it had also shown me what I wanted, love that lifted, not controlled. Maybe Nora's friend could be a start. Reflecting on the nightmare, I realized it was more than a story. It was a mirror. It showed me my fears of being trapped, of losing myself, but also my strength, my family, my heart. I'd learned to fight for my art, to trust my worth, to seek love that didn't hurt. The Dreams Lisbon was a symbol, and now, with Tessa's offer, it was real. I'd paint, I'd love, I'd live, not as a victim, but as Elias Navarro, whole and free. But I wonder, reader, if you found yourself in a nightmare that felt real, facing fears of control or betrayal, with stakes like your art, your heart, or your freedom, how would you fight back? How would you wake up, reclaim your light, and build a life that's yours? I stood, joining Rowan and Tessa, their laughter a balm. The novel lay closed, its shadows contained, but its lessons lived in me. I'd start painting tonight, for Lisbon, for myself. Julian, Spectre, Milo. They were fiction, but my strength was real. And as I glanced at Mom's photo, her smile urging me on, I knew I was ready for whatever came next, abroad, in love and life.